Secretary General, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me.
It's been quite a NATO-focused General Assembly with all sorts of speeches and commentaries around the edges about directly. So President Zelensky of Ukraine said the following: no, not international law, not cooperation, but weapons decide who to survive. And he said that even being part of the long-standing military alliance doesn't automatically mean you are safe. So is that a direct shot across NATO's bow?
No, I don't think so. And of course, he's right on the weapons, because he needs the weapons. The good news is the US, since mid-July, is supplying the weapons again, paid for by allies. The president decided to open the floodgates again, both lethal and non-lethal weapons into Ukraine, which is extremely important for the Ukrainians. And it helps them to stay strong in the fight. And they're exceptionally successful.
And this business about you all have to paying for American weapons, which used to go from their budget, how stressful is that for NATO's budget and various governments' budgets?
Well, of course, they have to make sure that the money is there. But I think it is logical. Europe is stepping up. Europe was stepping up at the NATO summit with the 5% spending commitment. Now Europe is stepping up, saying, hey, listen, it's only logical that we pay for these weapons, but it is important that the US is supplying them, because otherwise Ukraine could not survive. These are crucial deliveries.
In your conversations about a potential, day after, are there any developments in terms of security guarantees for Ukraine, including from the United States?
Well, let's first of all pray and hope that the day after is there as soon as possible.
Right.
And I know that President Trump is working day and night to achieve that moment and to get there. The Europeans, under the leadership of the French and the Brits, came together organizing these security guarantees. The US has now said we want to get involved, so that debate is now taking place. But of course, all of this can only be implemented post a long-term ceasefire or a full peace deal.
So you say the president is working day and night on it. Even at the podium, he admitted that he thought that it would be one of the more easy conflicts to solve because of his relationship with Vladimir Putin. And he's basically announced to the world and to Putin that it's definitely not going as he wished, and that Putin is, stringing him along, essentially. What is the hope, do you think, for Putin to understand that it's time to agree to a ceasefire, to negotiate an end?
Well, I think President Trump hit it exactly as he should have by mentioning the paper tiger. And then the Russians coming back yesterday, the whole day, saying, no, we're not a paper tiger. We are a bear. Yeah. Hey, when you see a bear, you know you see a bear.
Right, but that's an offensive posture.
Yeah, but it means that Russia is insecure and that President Trump was able to hit a nerve, probably at the highest echelons of the Kremlin.
Okay.
And why is this? Because if I was a student of history, as I am, and Putin is also a student of history, and he loves his country and is proud of that history, I would not be in a good place. He's lost 1 million people now, or seriously wounded in this war. He is now losing in 1 month what the Soviets lost in 10 years in Afghanistan, only in 1 month. So this is what's happening at the moment. And he is not making the progress he wants. He has these long lines waiting for the gasoline stations to fill up the cars with gasoline because the Ukrainians are successful in hitting the oil refineries in Russia. He's not in a good place. And I think President Trump feels that, and he's putting pressure on Putin. Come to the table.
Just a quick thing, because he's not in a good place, but you remember in the Oval Office, Trump had told Ukraine that you're not in a good place, you have no cards. Now he's saying that actually, I think, with NATO help, that you can win back all your territory. How did you analyze what that meant? Is the aim now to help Zelensky and Ukraine enough to win back things, even like Crimea, the Donbass?
Well, I think what we have here is a president really trying to get Putin to the table, and so far Putin has not played ball. And he wants him to play ball and come there and make compromises and end this terrible war. And there will also be discussions on very sensitive issues, including territory. And both President Trump, myself, we all agree it's up to President Zelensky to discuss territory and make the necessary deals when that moment comes. But at the moment, of course, the problem is that Putin is not there, and therefore the 5% spending commitment, this weapons delivery from the US into Ukraine paid for by allies, but also the discussion now between the EU and the US on more sanctions on Russia is extremely helpful to put that pressure on Putin and get him there.
Do you think that'll happen? Because President Trump has said that that's available, but he keeps having these rolling deadlines. Do you think finally he will put those sanctions on?
He already did. We have seen what
Well,
he
no,
did.
not the big ones that are, that
the
are
secondary
prepared in...
sanctions. The big one on India.
Yes,
Well,
but
secondary
I'm talking about
sanctions-
on Russia.
Yeah, but this immediately impacts Russia because that means that Delhi is now on the phone with Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin in Moscow and Narendra Modi asking me, hey, I support you, but again, could you explain to me the strategy? Because I have now been hit by these 50% tariffs by the United States. So President Trump is implementing what he says. But of course, we are not happy that so far we have not been able collectively to end the war. And he is working on
And
that.
what do you make, because he talked about NATO nations, I think, he said, I'll put those on, but you also have to stop buying Russian energy. So there's Turkey, Hungary,
Yes.
Slovakia.
Yeah.
What are you telling those nations?
But there are two issues. One is that a couple of these nations still buy Russian oil,
Yeah, yeah.
and I agree with President Trump, this should stop. And I know that the European Commission President is working on this. I know that President Trump personally is working on this, including directly with Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary. Then the second issue is that Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, is very proactively engaging with Scott Bessent, with the White House, on seeing what can we do, for example, with China, to make sure that we put more pressure on China, also through sanctions, whatever we can do collectively.
Yep.
Not easy, but we can get there.